Oh, another spicy meatball already? Oh, heavens. You'd think after I just made a video explaining how the word that is banned literally everywhere actually means freedom, I'd be keeping my head low for a bit. And yet now I am going to show you an article that alleges that the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have been actively censoring social media to the point where they may even have affected elections. Oh boy. I am either very brave or very stupid. Let's see which one it is, as the article here, which I am going to be referencing throughout, I am going to add in a link in the description below. A rarity, I know, but you know what? This right here, God help me, but it might actually be journalism. I know it's a foreign goddamn concept in today's world, but no, I think there might actually be some journalism involved in this. I'm as shocked as you are, so I'll let you read it yourself for the details, but this is most assuredly relevant considering what is happening right now, amongst other things by, of course, the takeover of Twitter by Elon Musk, who is currently on the receiving end of tepid coverage at best, as the media is swarming around him looking for the tiniest morsel, the smallest whiff, the lightest taste of controversy with which to hit him over the head with. Like we saw, I covered this in the Archcast last weekend, where CNBC jumped all over two apparently fired Twitter engineers by the name of Ligma and Johnson. Lick my Johnson. Which of course turned out to be a pair of trolls. And yet they ran with it without the slightest hint of fact check, because a lot of people are trying to put old Elon's balls in a sling right now, and he'd best step awfully carefully. Awfully carefully indeed. But this is, of course, a very, very, very big deal, because apparently the previous owners of these social media companies were quite receptive of governmental pressure from various organizations. Now, this is also in relation to the now defunct Disinformation Governance Board. In case you're unaware what that was, it was a Biden administration initiative to introduce a governmental body called the Disinformation Governance Board, whose job it would be to govern misinformation, or in plainer terms, determine what was and what was not truth. Oh boy. That, luckily, was a bit too Orwellian, even by today's standard, and the board was quickly downscaled and then completely scuppered. Again, that was so... a bit too mask off there, Biden. Yeah, just calm down a little bit. But apparently, the actual initiative behind it has continued apace even without the official front, as The Intercept here have done a good job of piecing together various pieces of information and various pieces of lawsuits as well, and freedom of information requests, to paint a picture of an apparently ongoing governmental let's be careful what we say here, a governmental effort to deal with the threat of misinformation. And they bring up several very good quotes here. For example, that, there's disinformation out there that might threaten the economic stability, the faith in the economic institutions of the United States. Oh yes, disinformation is in danger of doing that, not galloping inflation or anything. This all comes across as extraordinarily governmental overreachy, but the Biden administration's primary argument in the various lawsuits that are apparently currently going on is that they, or the DHS, the various governmental agencies, etc., didn't actually do anything, you see. No. The social media companies chose to censor these things. Apparently the rate is about 1 in 3 items brought to the social media companies' attention were then sufficiently God, my English. It is the middle of the night over here. Sorry, it's a bit late to pick up this story here, but I decided to do a video on it, so my rate of misspeaketh might be higher than usual. But essentially, their argument is that the social media were the ones who made all of the decisions to censor, and the big old FBI dude standing right behind them was nothing more than moral support. Oh, of course. As let me find it right here. There was a example of the Hunter Biden laptop. In an appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast in August, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and ex-owner and runner of Facebook, revealed that Facebook had limited sharing of the New York Post reporting after a conversation with the FBI. So, Facebook chose to limit the sharing of the Hunter Biden laptop story after a conversation with the FBI. The background here is that the FBI came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, you should be on high alert that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 elections. So, just to make this clear here, the official position, it appears, according to Mark Zuckerberg, of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is that social media is capable of affecting elections. Right, that's important to bear in mind, because that gives them tremendous power, of course. And Zuckerberg then said that we have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump, apparently, of information. And when the Post story came out in October 2020, Facebook thought it fit that pattern. The FBI had told them to look out for, and therefore censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. Well, that is very interesting because, again, if we accept Mark Zuckerberg's story here, then the FBI is clearly of the opinion that Russian propaganda, Russian bots, and social media influenced the 2016 election. So, whilst it might be risque to say so on YouTube, is it not therefore also theoretically possible that the Hunter Biden laptop story may have done the same in 2020? Just saying. It seems like the FBI might think so. Very, very, very interesting. Which of course makes a lot of this more relevant. Well, so they mentioned too that apparently a lot of this was put in place during that whole Disinformation Government's Board initiative, but it is apparently still active. It should have been shut down, yet a lot of the governmental sites that give access to Facebook are still live. At the time of the release of this article, Facebook's back-end governmental access was still open. So this was a special portal which you could enter if you had a .gov email, and you would then go directly to Facebook's censors, essentially, to deliver to them, presumably, links or pieces of misinformation and go, hey, be aware of this. You know, we're not telling you to do anything. But, if you chose to do so, you should pay attention. Alrighty then. All of this is mildly sus. Mildly sus, particularly considering the department at the head of this too, the US Department of Homeland Security, which is a very new department. It was established in 2002 after the whole, 9/11 thing, and its particular purview, its purpose was the war on terror, which, seems to kind of be done, for better or worse. So, I guess the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, will be shuttered any day now, right? Funny. Very funny. No, it's this is in all due likelihood the governmental arms, the bureaus, attempt to figure out some way of remaining relevant and keeping that sweet funding cash flowing. As at this point, it probably employs thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. It probably is wielding a considerable amount of influence at this point, and getting it shuttered will be remarkably difficult. Hell, most of the current alphabet soup organizations in the US have already kind of fulfilled their mandate, but, it's a lot of employment, isn't it? And this is also where we get to the people like Elon. So, because this is a rather interesting thing. Now, Elon has been cooperative with the government in the past, so there's no reason to think that he might necessarily be an enormous rebel on this sphere. To be fair to Mark Zuckerberg and stuff like that, if you get the FBI showing up at your company going, "Hey, we've got serious concerns about this," you listen. You absolutely listen, because if you don't, it could get complicated awfully gosh darn quickly, now couldn't it? And with Elon in the midst of transforming Twitter completely, amongst other things, apparently trying to introduce some kind of $20 per month verification fee, so a $20 subscription fee, and Elon is envisioning that eventually subscriptions will make up half of Twitter's income. Well, think of this from the perspective of an outsider, right? Somebody who might have a vested interest in a large social media platform and the powers that it could potentially wield. Right, well, you've now got a maverick, you've got a person you don't know quite where it is, who's going into a social media platform, declaring that he's going to be the sole ruler of it, he's going to fire everyone else, and he's going to make himself the sole, I want to say dictator, but director of the company, and wants to make it also independent of advertisers, by making sure that half, or perhaps even the lion's share of income, comes from the users rather than advertisements, which will make the company a hell of a lot susceptible to negative PR and advertisers pulling out. "Oh, hey, there's a story here. Did you know that Elon Musk might have been a very racist lad at some point? Oh, Coca-Cola, what are your thoughts on the matter?" You get the drift. This might seem a little bit uncomfortable, frankly, mightn't it? And if you apparently have had very cooperative social media sites in the past, very, very interesting. And to be clear as well, this isn't a purely Biden thing either. Apparently Trump also tried to use this to get information and to get, services rendered, essentially, from social media companies. Now, this is all a little bit speculatory as to exactly how far the powers have reached. There is a mention in here, I think about 35%, that about 35% of the things brought to the social media companies' attention were actually taken actions upon. So about 1 in 3 points were actually, sustained by the social media company. But seeing as a lot of this is still working its way through the legal system and being hashed out in courts and being hashed out in confidential documents, and a lot of those is also based on leaks from the Department of Homeland Security, it's difficult to say for sure how much of this might be correct, shall we say. How much of it might be a little bit speculatory, how much of it might be taken out of context, etc., etc. So we shouldn't leap to conclusions just yet, but, the idea that the US government has a vested interest in social media, I don't think is particularly far-fetched in the slightest. In fact, we know for a fact that they have been trying to influence social media companies, and that they have recognized the tremendous amount of societal influence that these companies have. If anything, I would imagine that these efforts would grow more strident, not less so, considering the current administration, considering the trials and tribulations currently attacking it from each and every side, the ever more unstable situation across the world. You've got inflation, you've got the energy crisis, you've got the war in Ukraine, etc., etc. If a government was ever to be tempted to try and take a bit more of a direct hand in its public relations, this might very well be it. Absolutely. And when you then throw into the mix a maverick like Elon, yeah, I can absolutely buy the idea that whilst this was a PR disaster, the actual work to get it up and running and in an actionable, workable fashion probably did continue in the background. We'll have to see how this shakes out, however, as this is a pretty fresh story right now and it is being covered by suspiciously few news outlets, which also makes me a pinch nervous about covering it. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it'll be completely ignored, and well, because the news cycle is also busy with another thing right now, which is having a few conspiratorial vibes about it, but that one's a bit too spicy for me because, well, I've seen Tucker Carlson get flack for covering it, and if Tucker and Elon are getting flack for covering it, I think two controversies is about all that Arch can handle for the moment, just in case. So do let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think about all of this? Read through the article. Does it seem credible to you? Do you think they actually stopped this whole disinformation governance board and that they carried on in the background? And do you think that perhaps Elon's entrance onto the board might have shaken things up a little bit extra here? Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.